Hello everyone and welcome to another HRL History episode. And this one is going to be on, well, it's going to be kind of like a preview for the Reach Throwback, essentially. So I'm going to be going through 3 different races from our Reach series in the past. 2 of them are from the second season of our Reach main series. One of them is from the first season. And yeah, all Reach races basically to prep us for the Reach Throwback. And I might do something like this for Firestone Firehawk as well. I know I did the last HRL history on Firestone Firehawk, so I'd pick a different race, something else to look at instead of the series as a whole, but I may do that as well. Got some other HRL history ideas in the pipeline as well. 2 really cool ones that might take a little bit longer to come out because it's a little bit of effort into these, but trust me, the next upcoming HRL histories after this one and potentially that Firestone Firehawk one are going to be pretty sweet. So definitely look forward to those. And I got some notes for this one too, so hopefully that'll help with the tangents. Probably not. But anyways, so starting off with this one, Daytona race. Of course, Daytona is what we're going to be doing here in a couple days, actually. Holy crap, it's really close. So I wanted to look at this race, and we already covered the first Daytona race because that was the first HRL history episode. So instead, we're going to take a look at Season 2's this time. Now, first of all, who's in this race? Well, better question for this one is who's not in it. Turkey and Jared quit for some reason, so, fuck them. Blame them. I really hope Jared watches this video now. But yeah, blame them, leaving the lobby here. But anyways, got myself, Dark Shadows, Tristan, Gotta Know, and Congo. Dark Shadows, of course, a driver that I checked the stats, the Reach stats, and Dark Shadows. Actually, most of his starts came in Halo 4, which I did not believe. I just remember racing with Dark Shadows and Reach. I know he did some Halo 4 stuff, but primarily I remember Dark Shadows and Reach. So that really surprised me. But as you can see, he's pretty solid in Reach. In our Reach Ultimate stats sheet, I mean, he's one of our top drivers in our Reach series, and his claim to fame in Reach was winning the first SX series that we did. We did an SX series in Reach, and Dark Shadows won that one. So shout out to him on that. Who else do we have? We had Congo. Congo did now he's another one that I think of mostly with Reach, and I think it's actually true. He may have done, yeah, okay, so it's pretty close. It's closer, right? Yeah, it's closer. So his Halo 4 is more as well, but Halo 4 we also introduced like 2 motos and stuff like that. But yeah, Congo, as far as our Reach results, also pretty high up there. We got Tristan. Oops. We got Tristan, who of course, friend of mine from high school. Last time I talked to him was a couple months ago, actually. I think he mostly does iRacing now. Hasn't really dabbled in the Halo stuff in a while, but he used to. He did in Halo 4 as well. I know he's on the sheet. There he is. So he did some stuff in Halo 4 as well. Wait, hold on. 36, and he had 40. Oh, pretty close to the same. So yeah, Tristan, classic racer, friend of mine in a lot of these old ones. Oh, and then, so, like, hold on. Let's see if anything... Really? So, the last one... Yeah, I have listed as somebody else, but I honestly think... I honestly think this might be another iPod apps gamer tag. I genuinely do. So, I'm not 100% sure on this, and if anybody in the comments does know, specifically Rammed Armada, if you're watching this, I feel like you might know, because I know we used to talk to them quite a bit. Is it the same is this, because I know we had a whole conundrum with this when I was doing the stats, and you could even see I have 3 names listed here for iPod. Is Gotta Know another iPod apps gamer tag? Because, and look, he's got the Phase service tag. I mean, they both do, but that's like something that they would do. So Gotta Know, and this will, yeah, we're good with the stats now, but I'll have the link to this in the description, of course. This is something I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on the drivers and, little preview in the stat sheet for everybody in these HRL history episodes. Thought that'd be cool. Thought that'd be, yeah, something cool. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. There. But yeah, so, I don't know. I'm almost positive now that this is another iPod apps gamer tag. I could be wrong. But I kind of think it is.
Gotta Know in first, Luke in second with his Hardy's Russ Wheeler scheme.
I forgot I pointed that out. But yeah, so like, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, if anybody, I doubt anybody knows, but if anybody knows, please tell me, because I think it's him. I think it's him on another gamer tag, and I think I gotta fix the stat sheet, because I think it's a fourth freaking gamer tag for iPod apps. Could be wrong, but I think it is. But anyways, there's the little preview and introduction on those drivers. But yeah, again, so Dark Shadows, raced with him a lot back in the day, and iPod as well. They're both friends. They would do a lot of these old races. Solid Racers, Congo, old ORL guy, and then Tristan, friend of mine from high school. That's who we got in here. And we're supposed to have Turkey and Jared as well. But again, I don't know what happened to them, but they ended up having to leave, unfortunately. Okay, so what do I want to talk about with this Daytona race? So first thing I have highlighted is the day to night. And unfortunately, in this video, you're not gonna be able to see this in its entirety, but I'll explain it. So day to night transition. So the first Daytona race, if you go back and watch that one, was a daytime race. Phlegm in my throat. Sorry, it's annoying when I'm talking. So it's a daytime race. So what we did differently for this one, obviously you can see it's we got the effect that makes it look more like nighttime. But what we did that was kind of cool is I want to say we did heat races before this. So what we did is we did the heat races. I think this might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we did this. If we didn't do it, maybe it was Texas. Maybe we experimented with a different track. But either way, I'm gonna bring it up. The heat races didn't have the effect. So the heat races were like the day version of the track, and this race, the feature was like the night version of the track. So we had two different versions of the track saved, and raced it in the heats. Race the different version for the night race for the feature, just to get, I don't know, a little bit of immersion, something cool, just a cool little effect. Like, do you need to do something like that? No. I just thought it was kind of cool. So, it'd be cool if we had, Infinite, or even if MCC stuff we do with the effects, if we could mess with it. It'd be cool if somebody brought that back. I think that would be cool. The day to night transitions. We could do like heats. Of course, we're not doing heats in this season, but, if we, two moto format, we could do one moto day, second moto night, have the different. I know it's a little more effort, but it's just a cool little addition, cool little feature. I think it's neat. And it was also cool for this track, just to not even just for the heat to feature transition, but also just like from one season to the next, like having the other season be the day version, this version be the night version, kind of like separate them in your mind a little bit. Like a cool aesthetic way to change the track and not change the track, like the actual track, like we do a lot of the time. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, oh man, we're gonna be talking about this next part for a while. I'm gonna skip that. So, prestige of the race. So, Daytona race. Of course, we have many like crown jewel races. For our league in particular. Off the top of my head, like the Eagle River race, of course, is a big one, classic one. And then another one like the Mirabilis race. It's another one that is like very obvious, comes to mind. Barvo, and then like Chile. There are others, but those are like the four just obvious examples that just immediately just rush to my mind. With those four. Because those are just classics. The Mirabilis track, just ending all those H5 main series seasons on it. Eagle River just being the classic go-kart track, and then Barvo being that classic Halo 5 oval, and then Chile being the World of Outlaw classic oval that we brought across multiple games, multiple different versions. Now, this track is another crown jewel race, but it's one that we haven't done in a long time. Because, of course, with this, our Reach series in particular, being pretty oval and pretty NASCAR inspired, obviously Daytona 500 race being like the big one in that, so that carries over here. And yeah, so it's another big race. It's another crown jewel race. It's one that we haven't done in HRL in a long time. I've wanted to bring this track and this race back for a long time. I'll admit it. It just one of those things where it just didn't work out. I've wanted to bring it back for a minute. Now we're here. We finally have it back, and we can add more Daytona winners on our stat sheet and history and stuff like that. So that's pretty freaking cool. I'm excited about that.
Just completed by Tristan. 2 to go.
There's soundtrack in the 2 to go, by the way. There's soundtrack in the background for this too, which is pretty funny. I'll let my audio play last couple laps as well. But yeah, Tristan, basically, quick recap of the race itself. I'm talking about all this other stuff. Tristan basically dominated. He got to the lead early. Nobody else could really catch him. Kind of just dominated. So it's a great race for Tristan. Spoiler alert, he is going to take the win here. I mean, you can see the gap. Something crazy would have to happen. He's going to take the win. So I won the first Daytona race. Tristan wins the second one here, and then who's going to win the third? This will only be our third one. I believe. I'd have to double check. Maybe we did 2 in a season. I don't think so though. I believe it's our third one. So yeah, who's going to be the third winner? If it's going to be a repeat, it's going to be me. Otherwise, it's going to be a new winner for this race. Pretty cool. So yeah, Tristan gets the win. And yeah, our finish for second ended up being kind of close, but ended up holding on to it. I love this outro, by the way. The celebration here is just classic hate. Like, we still do shit like this today, which is hilarious. You'll see at the end here. It's pretty funny. Waiting on it, waiting on it. There we go. Yep, classic, classic Halo race win celebration. So I'm gonna throw the next race up in the background.
Alright guys, here we go.
Oh yeah, old voice. Alright, so I'm gonna admit, as you can see, this one's quite a bit longer. And the third race that we'll look at is pretty similar in length to the first one. This one's very long. This one's very long. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep talking about Daytona. There's a few things I want to talk about with Daytona, but this video is long enough to where we're good. Like, we're good. But I'm gonna start playing this race. I want to play this race in full. In the background, you guys get 3 full races, or 3 full race videos rather, for this HRL history plus all the extra stuff. Okay, so for Daytona, so yeah, the Prestige, talked about that. Oh, here's a cool little stat. Last 2 winners. So of course I won the first one. Tristan won the second one. I won the first championship. Tristan got second in the second one. So is that a pattern, or is it, you know, you win the Daytona race, you're favored to finish like top 2? You know what I mean? How do you want to look at that? I know it's small sample size, but if you win the race, you got to think from that stat, it's pretty good odds. Pretty good odds for how the season's gonna go. Or we could break it. Or we could break it in the throwback. Okay, so let's go over this one first, because I want to talk about all the draft stuff. So, caution frequency. So the Daytona race, in our first couple runs of it, pretty lax on the cautions, right? Not a whole lot of cautions. In fact, I think that second one might have went completely green. I'm not even sure if it had a caution. So pretty lax on the cautions. Oh, here we go. In this race, we'll go over this quick. So we got Revenge in here as well. Revenge, I've went over in other video. I'm not gonna go super hard on Revenge because I went over him in other HRL histories. Revenge, classic HRL driver. That is, you know, he shows up all throughout the history. Love to see him in this race. PokeFam was one that specifically just did some races in this season, and then we didn't hear from him again. It sounds so tragic the way I just said it. Of course, Zooey, Uncle Blake, might see him come back. I don't know. But yeah, so it's been a minute. I mean, we saw him earlier this year, but he's another, like, similar to Revenge, where he shows up all throughout the history. And then again, is it FaZe? Is it him? Is it iPod? I don't know. Jaws. I want to say another ORL guy, and he showed up in some of these Reach races, some of our Halo 4 races as well. And Frantic, all Halo Reach, I believe. Let me go to the Reach stats. Oh yeah, there he is. I don't even need to. And there he is. There he is. There's Frantic. So pretty solid stats too. Pretty solid. Frantic there. So yeah, it was pretty good in the. Only did 11 races, but in the races that he did, pretty respectable. Pretty respectable. All right. So there you go. There's that. Okay. So but yeah. So pretty lax on the cautions, right? And that, I think what that has to do with is, if you're not drafting a lot, and we weren't at the time, if you're not using the draft a lot, it's a lot safer. It's a lot safer. Like, somebody has to do something really stupid or get really unlucky for there to be a caution on this Daytona track in Reach. Now, again, those old races played out like that, and we're going to start to transition into what I want to talk about, what I'm excited to talk about. Yeah, those old races, but we didn't really use the draft, and the draft is something, the Reach draft is funny, it's even what we freaking call it, literally the Reach draft. We didn't really use it a whole lot in those first 2 Daytona races. We didn't really use it a whole lot. The field that we had, we weren't really comfortable with it, and didn't really utilize it that much. Do I think that'll be the case on Friday here? No, I don't think that'll be the case at all. And I think there's a lot of factors with the draft. But I think the cautions, I think there will probably be at least more caution, like how that last one that we watched had no cautions. There will at least be some. There will at least be some. I'm not saying there's gonna be a ton of cautions, but there'll at least be some, because when you bring the draft into play on Halo Reach, it is very different than the drafting in our other games. Just like the way it works and the way that like the game like reacts to it with like the connection and stuff, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. It's very like particular, like if you haven't done it a lot, drafted a lot on all the games, and you might not really notice the difference, but it's, trust me, I think especially people running the race, I think you'll notice pretty quickly, like it's pretty different. It's pretty different. So I'm excited to see how this race plays out with the draft being a primary factor in it, because we haven't really had an HRL Daytona race where the draft has been a primary factor yet. The races that I did in the Adrenaline Racing League were the ones where it was a primary factor. Now, even then, that wasn't always the case. The first few races that I did in there, it wasn't like everybody doing it. But again, more people learned, people got more comfortable with it. And by the time that we did like the last couple Daytona races in Adrenaline, then it was like that. Then it was like literally everybody was trying to draft all the time. And that's how I think this race on Friday will play out. That's how I think it'll play out. I think people are going to be pretty well focused on the draft. I think I think some people are going to get it figured out really well, and I think that other people, if they're not as comfortable with it, they're going to have to adapt and figure it out because of how strong it's going to be for the people that have it figured out. And yeah, so I think because of that, I think like pretty much everybody's going to have to do it. And that's just going to make the race way different, because the draft on Reach is fast. It's potentially fast as hell, but it's also really unstable. So like what happens in the other games where people get shoved out of the draft, and a lot of the time they literally just get shoved out, you know what I mean? It's not like a lag flip. They kind of just like move across the screen. If you know what I'm talking about. Like that happens a lot in the World of Outlaw races. Like when we had the little draft moments in the World of Outlaw races where somebody would get like shoved out of the draft, that's what I'm talking about, right? That would happen a lot. Literal death on the track, amazing. But anyways, try to finish my draft talk. Okay, so yeah, how people would get shoved out in Reach, unless it's different now, and I'm excited to find out if it is, unless it's different now. The draft in Reach used to be a lot more unstable. Instead of getting shoved out, you would just flip. You would just totally lag flip a lot. And a lot of the times, that's how a good draft would end. It was like a time bomb. You'd just be waiting, like, okay, who's going to get the lag flip? Or do you have two drivers that are like experienced and used to it? And, oh, this flip is crazy, by the way. And do they, like, you can kind of predict it. Like, you can kind of tell just by like paying attention to your goose when it's like starting to become unstable and when it's like that lag cheese is happening. So if you pay it close attention, you can like back out of a draft like right before it's going to cheese you. But again, you have to be really used to it. You have to be really aware and kind of ballsy to do it too, because like, yeah, staying in the draft is a risk, but it's like going out of it is also a risk, right? What if everybody else is drafting and get past? Like, it's also a risk. But yeah, and people are gonna have, I'm sure people are gonna find draft partners, maybe not, maybe not like predetermined, but I'm sure like throughout the race, people find people like, oh, I happen to draft very well with this person, I'm gonna do that, and different strategies to that. Maybe if somebody's in the front, what do you do? Like, do you feel comfortable running towards the front? Maybe not in the lead, but like third. Do you feel comfortable in third? Single wide, or do you let off maybe to try to like get somebody to draft with you and see if you can get to the lead? Like, are people gonna do that? If they do, how often are they gonna do that? How far are you gonna drop back to get a draft partner to try to do something like that? Like the different strategies that come into it. I just find it all very interesting. I think there is potential with the draft factor for this to be just like a very unique HRL race. That's why I'm so excited for it, is if it works out the way that I think it could, I think this could be one of the most unique races that we have done in a while. Like one of the most unique feeling races that we've done. Yeah, maybe all year, because I'm telling you, if people get used to it quickly, it's going to be such a big factor. Whoever wins the race is probably going to come down to who gets the best draft run at the right time. And like I said, like different strategies. Like, again, one scenario that I keep thinking about that I just find very interesting, like if you're in second and you're running single wide, do you try to like pass the guy in the lead? It's hard to pass on that Daytona track. It's very rare that passing happens single wide. It can happen, but it's pretty rare. Do you try to do that? Or do you drop back to third or even fourth to try to like find somebody to work with, take the lead? And then how does that keep happening? How are people just going to keep like slingshotting in and out of the lead? Like, how is it going to go? I don't know, but I'm very curious and I'm very excited. I think it's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, I could talk about it forever. So I'm going to chalk the Daytona talk. I'm going to let myself talk for a bit.
There we go.
My past self, because I got to take a drink. And we'll go on to the Watkins Glen stuff.
And they're off. Revenge Racer gets a good start. Luke not so good. Frantic gets a good start. Frantic's going to end up taking third. Zooey is sitting in the back here. And Luke hits the rock. Let's take a quick replay of that. That will not bring out a caution.
Damn, tough for me. All right. I had to take a drink. Okay. So now we're moving on to the next one. So Watkins Glen GP. What do I have on my card for this one? Okay, so this is the main thing that I wanted to talk about, particularly for these types of tracks, although I could talk about this as far, like, for each type of track. The Reach Goose feels unique. So, for me personally, the Reach Goose is my favorite, and I'll admit, like, a big part of it, I'm sure, is because it's the one that I started with. Like, of course, I'm sure that is a big reason why. I know that's the case for a lot of things, like, even for, like, a game series, like, oh, like, what COD is your favorite? Oh, yeah, it's the one you've played first, like, what, you know what I mean? Like, that's the case for a lot of things, you know, games, movies, whatever. Could even be, like, your first car or whatever, stuff like that, you know what I mean? That's the case for a lot of people with a lot of things. It's always, like, the first experience. Not with all things, but with a lot of things. And yeah, so I really love Reach, and that's why I'm so excited and why I've been looking forward to doing this Reach throwback for such a long time. Was that me on the dismount? Brother. Hold on. We're pausing. Hold on.
Revenge has a good start. Pokefan has a good start. Everybody but Unknown has a good start. Zooey ends up getting shoved off the track. That's going to give him a worse start than he should have had. Luke ends up jumping off his mongoose accidentally, which is going to cost him 2 spots.
You learn something new every day. I didn't remember that. I thought I only hit the accident. Was I trolling? And then I had to be trolling. There's no way. I had to be freaking trolling. But yeah, I learned something new every day. I never knew that I dismounted in another race. I hit the accidental dismount. I thought the one that I did earlier this year, I thought that was the only time I've ever done that. I totally forgot about that. That is hilarious. There you go. This whole HRL history episode is worth it just for that. You get my second embarrassing dismount here in this episode. Congratulations. That's actually hilarious. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. So the Reach Goose. I love the Reach Goose. And it feels very unique compared to all the other games. Gooses, that totally was not intentional by Uncle Blake right there. That fall off, that was totally not intentional. What the hell? I wonder if he got penalized for that. So yeah, like the intentional cautions that, you know, we saw with certain people in Halo 5 at different points. Hey, it's got roots. It's got roots in history. All right. Anyways. Back, the freaking race just keeps giving me things to talk about. Reach Goose. Okay, so it just feels different. Like, I Obviously, all the gooses feel unique in their own way, but in my opinion, I think that H2A, Halo 4, and Halo 5's all feel relatively similar. Obviously, Halo 5's is more like Halo 4 and H2A are really the two close ones, right? Like the two super close ones. Obviously, Halo 5. Don't get me wrong, Halo 5's is different than those two, but think about it from like a casual perspective, right? You know what I mean? Like if somebody just hopped on the games, they would probably find all three of those to feel pretty similar, even though because we race on them and all the particular intricacies and whatever, you know, we know that the Halo 4 and H2A ones are quite a bit different than the Halo 5 one. I would group them in the same boat from a casual perspective, though. Is how I think about it. So those are pretty similar. Halo 3 and Infinites, actually, I think feel kind of similar in a way. Halo 3's almost feels a bit like, it's got like an Infinite and Reach crossover almost. Halo 3's is interesting. But I think Halo 3's and Infinites are kind of similar feeling. But then we got Halo Reach. And Halo Reach's Goose, for me, is the one that stands out. Like, it is just such a unique feeling vehicle compared to the mongoose that we have raced in all the other games. Like it's the least, like even the Halo 3 and Infinite Goose, for again, maybe the Halo 3 one's got like that reach slide. So that one's interesting. Like the Halo 3 one's pretty unique too to me. But just like all those other Halo game mongooses, I feel like there's like comparisons with each other where I think they can be kind of similar. That's just not the case for the most part with Reaches. Like I feel like Reaches is so just unique to Reach. You know what I mean? Like I don't think of Reach's mongoose and get like confused with, you know, Halo 4's racing or Halo 2 Anniversaries or Halo 5's. You know what I mean? Like that just doesn't happen. That just can't happen. I think of Reach racing, I very particularly think about the way that this goose feels. And what, like, can I explain that a little bit? Like, what is it that's different? Well, it's very loose. It's very loose. Like, it likes to slide. It's kind of like heavy. Um, it bogs down. It bogs down a lot. Very punishing. Very punishing. Those are some things that I think of that come to mind when I think of the Reach Goose. But again, the reason why I like the Reach Goose so much is, yeah, those things can be frustrating, but let me tell you, when you figure out a section on Reach, how to take it the correct way to like maintain your momentum, especially in the certain areas of tracks where like the outside line is faster. When you like figure out those tricks on how to like maintain your momentum with the Reach Goose, it's so damn satisfying, man. It is so freaking satisfying. I love the way hitting like a difficult chicane, for example, feels on Reach compared to any other Halo game, or nailing the outside line on an oval where you're just like next to the wall and you just nail it and get that momentum. It just feels, I don't know what it is. It just feels so good on Reach compared to the other games to me. I don't know what, it's just something so satisfying about it. And the bogging is part of it because again, a lot of what you're trying to do in this game is figure out how to take a section like in the shortest distance possible, but while also maintaining your momentum and not hitting that bog. So when you get the sections where the bog can be pretty easy to hit and you figure out ways to take them consistently without bogging, that is just so damn satisfying. It's one of those things where you just have to experience it if you haven't before. It's hard to explain, but something is just so satisfying about it. I love it. I love it. It's my favorite feeling. I mean, this is the first freaking game, and still in any Halo racing game, it's my favorite feeling is hitting a difficult section in Halo Reach, like where you're supposed to bog and figuring out the way to hit it properly without bogging. I love that. Love that feeling. Oh yeah, cautions in GP races. We're on a second green-white checkered, so there's cautions in GP races. Back in the day, I don't think we'll be doing that for the Reach throwback, but there you go. There's another interesting thing to learn about here. Is the freaking cautions. We used to have cautions in these races. Talked about the chicane difference. Oh, this is the grand final track, by the way. This is the grand final road course track. for a reach throwback. So that's another thing here. So you're looking at this track, get a little scope out of it because this one will be in the grand final. We saw the Death Sun track as well. That was hilarious. Well, I actually covered most of what I wanted to talk about for this. I didn't think I would, but I actually covered most of it. So we're good to go. Let's go to my Luch audio to close this one out.
See, Revenge up there gets a great restart. He's going to hold on to that lead, but Frantic's going to try to cut into it. 3 wide right here, Luke, Zooey, and Pokefan. You can see Revenge and Frantic are switching around all over the place up there. Luke's in third. Zooey goes a little too fast into the inner loop, but it ends up working out. Gets by Luke, gets into third. Revenge still holding on to the lead. Frantic in second. Zooey, you see Frantic, Zooey, and Luke all right here are battling for second. No dives bombs the corner. Slams into Luke, slows him down a little bit. Zooey slamming into Frantic, slowed down Zooey a little bit. Revenge runs Frantic really far on the inside of the track. Here we come to the white flag. 1 to go. This is the last green-white checkered, so this will stay green. Zooey's going to push Luke up the track a little bit. See Frantic. Oh, and Luke hits the rock. 1 lap to go. Gonna finish 4th, potentially
I'm a fast
third.
forward. No, I'm kidding.
And Luke hits the inside rock. Terrible way to end the race for Luke. But he's gonna have to go down and fall back to last. But let's look at the battle for the lead. Here we got Frantic in first, Revenge in second. Revenge really wants to take that lead back. He's led the whole race. He had a great inner loop. Great inner loop. Frantic hits the rock. He goes into the wall. Third. As Zooey pops into second. Huge wreck for Frantic and huge wreck for Revenge because it gave him the lead. Here comes Revenge. Final corners. Revenge, after leading all of these laps, finally gets back in the lead and is going to take the win here at Watkins Glen. We got Frantic back into second, Zooey in third, Pokefan fourth, Unknown in fifth, and Luke in sixth because of that last lap crash. Let's see how Frantic passed Zooey back. Because I was so focused on Revenge, I didn't see that. You can see. Okay, so here, after he recovers pretty nicely.
Okay, let's see what happens here.
He takes a not that good hairpin, actually. Frantic's hairpin was not that good. But right here, he's going to take a great turn right. Zooey actually flips. I did not see that. Zooey, there's a lot of final turn flips here. Zooey, this is the first flip I've seen on this rumble strip, but Zooey goes inside on this rumble strip. Maybe he hit the rock a little bit. Ends up barrel rolling.
Well, there you go.
And Frantic ends up
Rip.
passing him to get back to finishing order. Alright guys, so here's the chase.
Oh.
Potentially earning him.
There goes the final results, and we went through the finishing order as well, but Revenge ends up taking the win for that one. That was a pretty eventful race, by the way. If you're paying attention to the actual race itself the whole time, that was quite the eventful race.
20 laps, snake run feature. Everybody's going to start in this race. I'm going to go over here for the
Okay, so Snake Run. So now it's time to talk about Supercross. When I show the scoreboard, I'll talk about the drivers. I don't know when I'm going to show the scoreboard, but I'll try to pay attention. But yeah, Snake Run. I guess I'll go to myself for the... I'll stay on for the intro here.
Tristan goes early again. Luke seems to get the best start, and he's going to get the whole shot. You see huge battles going on right here. Whoa, Tristan...
Okay, so... Supercross races, what do I want to talk about? So, the random start. So the start itself, as always with Supercross, very important. But another thing that I find interesting is this is something that we used to do a lot, was a random start. Instead of like qualifying in a lot of these old races, especially the Supercross races and the Supercross, especially in ORL, it was very common to do this, and I think it was basically all that I don't think we ever did like qualifying lineups or lining it up a particular way. I think it was always RNG on the gate pick, and that's what it was here at the start. You spawn in and the gate drops in like 20 seconds. So that is something that is very different about this Reach Supercross, and that is something that we will continue in the Reach Throwback. That is how we're going to be doing it for these races. But But yeah, the gate pick, excuse me, the gate pick, as always, is very important. But in this game, it's just where you spawn. You know what I mean? Like, you don't actually, like, where you're starting is always important. You just don't get to decide in this game. So that is obviously something that is very different and interesting. Um, and you know, we'll see how that affects things when we get into these reach races. Difference in style of the SX tracks. Yeah, the tracks, and I think you'll be able to tell just by looking at Snake Run here. It is crazy how much things have evolved. And of course, it's called Snake Run because that little snake section at the end there. Haha, incredible. Um, anyways, but yeah, just the difference in the style of these Supercross tracks, and it's Snake Run honestly isn't even the best example of it. Some of these other tracks I think will show it off more, but it still applies to this track, I think. And yeah, it's just crazy how far we've come. It's crazy how far we've come, and like how advanced it is with, like, I mean, all the tracks in general, but in particular Supercross forging, right? And you can really see that on this track, like the simplicity of the track in general and the sections. Awesome at the time. At the time, this track was lit. Like, this track was great. Loved this track at the time. This is one of my favorite Supercross tracks. Would that apply now? Not necessarily. Still gonna race it. Still gonna have a good time. But yeah, would it apply now? No, not necessarily, right? Like, if I made this today, I'd be like, it's okay, right? But in 2011 or 2012 or whenever it was, this was awesome. This is awesome. So I just loved seeing the difference in the style and just like how far it's and also like the aesthetic wise too. That difference in style, like, that's very different. Like, it doesn't necessarily have that like stadium feel. You know, a lot of Supercross tracks now just go with the stadium feel and call it a day. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? Which is fair. But it's a little more unique. A little more unique with this. Difference in technicality. Difference in technicality. I would say that the Reach Supercrosses in general are a lot less technical. Not saying that they aren't technical, because they are in their own way. But in general, not as technical as the Supercross tracks that we do now. I wanted to talk about this one. This is my favorite. The berm. The berm feel and the importance of the berms. And you could probably see, if you're paying attention to the race, probably see it multiple times already, by the way. We're taking the berms. But yeah, the berms you can take flat out. You can take flat out, and if you take it properly, maintain like damn near all of your momentum. And I love that. I absolutely love that. It's my favorite part of Reach SX is the way that the berms feel when you hit them properly. I absolutely love it. Again, is it more technical to have the berms in the newer games where you have to like let off at a certain point and like have a breaking point? Like, is that more technical? Is that more is there more of a skill gap to that? Yeah, probably. But in terms of just like pure fun, I've always thought that these Reach berms were the most fun. I've always thought that. I just love the feeling of just like maintaining your momentum and not like, if you're nailing the track, you're not going to have to let off if you're hitting the outside line the whole way through. I just love the feeling of that. I think it feels great, and it's just super satisfying. I love these Reach berms. What else do we got? Oh yeah, momentum importance, and I kind of talked about this with the Watkins Glen race as well. That's a big part of Supercross. Now, there are sections where the inside can be better, and there are sections or times where you want to take the inside to pass or battle. But in general, the outside is usually the way to go in these Reach Supercross tracks. Like, generally, that is the case. That's usually what you want to do. And yeah, so like carrying the momentum, right? Because like I was saying, you could go flat out, not have to let off, and best way to do that is to go around the outside. So you want to carry your momentum. That's the key. Just in general in Reach, right? That's the key in like all types of racing and Reach, is just like that bog, right? You want to avoid that bog. You don't want to be bogging. So the key to reach isn't necessarily taking the shortest route always. It's not necessarily like finding the best let off point. It's about maintaining that momentum. Reach is a lot about maintaining that momentum, which, I mean, you could argue that, yeah, all racing is, which is true. I'm just saying that there's more like you're trying to stay flat out, right? You're trying to stay flat out. On a really technical track in Halo 5, you're going to have to let off at times. On Reach, you're almost always trying to stay flat out if you can. Mistake magnification. So Reach, again, and especially with SX, but just in general, just more punishing. More punishing. Like, you fly off a berm in this game or you mess up a section. I feel like, don't get me wrong, it always hurts. But I feel like you feel it a lot more in this game than some of the newer Halos. Oh yeah, so we had Seraph in here. Seraph won our go-kart series, actually, our first go-kart season on Reach. So Seraph won that, another ORL guy. We had Dark Shadows back for this one as well. Tristan was in here again. Congo was in here again. Hey, shout out to Armada. I feel like he told me he didn't remember doing a lot of these Reach races, but there you go. You were in this one. I think he had to go at some point, but hey, you were in it. You're in it. There you go. He was in this one. Hunt Shot, haven't heard from him in a while. Hunt Shot, or you may know, Team Associated. He was in this one as well. Unrealistic. Remember, or I'll probably remember him too. So those are some of the drivers in this one. Not too bad of a turnout. Pretty good set of drivers for a race like this. And I'll let myself close it out.
When he's coming to when he's on this white flag. Whoa.
I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure I caught it. I was gonna rewind. We're listening to this
slow,
again.
Running it safe. Doesn't want to flip. When he's coming to when he's on this white flag. Whoa, that was a huge voice crack. When he's coming to when he's on this white flag. Whoa, that was a huge voice crack.
Why is there so much embarrassment for me in this episode? This wasn't even on purpose. Like, how did that happen? The frickin' dismount and now this? Like, damn, what is going on? But anyways, had to highlight that. I had to highlight that. It's hilarious.
So anyways, here comes Seraph across the final jump section. Runs it very smoothly. And is gonna come across the finish line for the win.
Yep, Seraph ends up taking the win in this one.
Luke. Third is Dark Shadows. Fourth is Unreal. And I think everybody else pulled off, so I'm gonna have to look at the thing. Hunt Shot, he's way back there. He got 5th. Congo got 6th. Tristan got 7th. And Armada got 8th, who pulled off early in the race. So anyways, there is your Seraph on the...
Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of HRL History. The main takeaway, or main thing that I want you guys to think about watching these races is, again, the special part of this one is we're racing all these tracks in the season. So we're racing Daytona very soon, a couple days. We're racing Snake Run very soon. I think it's pretty early on in the schedule. We're racing Watkins Glen at the very end, so it's going to be a while for that one. But yeah, just like, you know, especially for Daytona, but in general, just like watching these and like seeing how different it is now compared to back then. And yeah, just getting like an idea for that and seeing how cool it is, how things have evolved over, you know, a decade or so. Yeah, about a decade for these Reach races. So that's crazy, by the way. But yeah, for a lot of these, for the season 1 ones especially, I think it's literally a decade. That is insane. But yeah, that's the main takeaway. Take a look at these. Think about, you know, these old races and how it looked while we're doing the new ones, how different it is, and stuff like that. And but yeah, I think this will be a cool episode to look back at once we've raced all these tracks in the throwback. I think it'll be cool to look at. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll have more videos coming throughout the week, and see you next time.